Hello, hello. Welcome to the Lion's Den. We are back with the final recap of Reasonable Doubt, episodes 9 and 10. As you guys can see, we have our week. Yes. So we are now back louder and prouder than ever on the mic. Y'all can hear me real good. I'm super excited to get into this episode because there was just so much going on. And what a phenomenal season by far. I mean, the writing, everything about this show is just absolutely amazing. And we get to see more for season 4. But first, of course, please like, share, and comment and subscribe to the channel. I really need y'all to go ahead and support. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure to share it and share me your thoughts. I really want to hear, how did you guys feel about this season? Of course, House Then Rules. Since it's scripted television, we don't really have any, words or any words of caution, but hey, in honor of Wicked, I have a green elixir and I also have my Glinda cup. So whether you are drinking an elixir like me or water or juice, whatever is favorite, make sure to have it ready and let's get into it because you know how we do it here at the Lion's Den. So let's get into this episode where we kick it off where Jax is back at home reflecting on her case because now it's getting towards the end. They are towards the end, and honestly, they've done a phenomenal I said team, Jesus, a phenomenal job of really being Ozzy's lawyer. Because right now it's leaning that Ozzy is probably not going to do jail time, and, so she's been absolutely doing her job, but she's still very concerned for Ozzy because she knows that, mentally he's not in the best space. Before we get started, while we watch this show, yeah, take a shot every time we say reasonable doubt, whatever you have. Anytime we say it, that's when you need to drink up. Okay? That's tonight's game. So moving forward. And again, your shot can be water or whatever you sipping on while you watching this recap. It's up to you. So Jackson's sitting there lying in bed thinking about her conversation with Rosie because we did leave off where Rosie said that she does think that Ozzy was capable of killing Wendy, which was a very odd, random thing, I think, to shout out and say just out the blue. So, for sure, for me at least, it was clearly kind of indicating that maybe the mom was trying to hide something or someone and throw. Because I think the only reason why a mom would do that is if they want to protect another child, right? That's where my brain went to. But for whatever reason, Rosie thought that maybe he was capable of doing it. So now Jazz, excuse me, is really trying to see, like, does she really think he's capable of that? Because I think Jax has not wanted to consider that he was maybe potentially guilty. But I think given with like how the show's been going, I think it was pretty obvious that Ozzy was probably innocent. So they have a moment, her and Lewis have a moment we don't have to go over. Ozzy also has a moment at his house. It's not really that important. And the next day, Jax goes to work and she notices how chummy Steven and Vince are with Bill. Because as we see, Bill likes to play both sides here. And we don't really know where his true loyalty lies, but he is a white male in corporate America, so he's going to be self-centered at the end of the day. But she sees it, but she's like, all right, we just gonna keep it moving. We just gonna do what we're gonna do because I do think like a lot of black women in your jobs, it's kind of like you see what's going on, but hey, if I just prove myself, if I just get this win, if I just, show them that I deserve to be here, I'll be fine, which is unfortunate. You should just be valued, period. But that is the world that we live in. So, on the other hand, she wants to put Ozzy on the stand, even though what Rosie said to her really did bother her. Bill is against it because he's like, hey, I don't think this may not be good. And all the work that we have done, if this man, like, if he did it, he could ruin it because we don't know how well he's going to do on this stand. But Jax really felt like if we can get him to testify in a way that shows um who he is and what I think connected her to him. And also she does come up with a different strategy that I think we'll talk about a little bit later that is hurtful self-esteem wise, but is effective. If I can get the jury to really see him how Jack sees him, then she thinks that that would be what it would need to really win their case. While this is going on, Daniel, as we know, is messing with the sister, and we know this whole entire time the sister has been just lying left and right, up and down, all around. She's been lying, and so now she's decided to ghost him and said that they're over and cut ties with him, which we clearly knew that they were working each other. And I think we do cut to a scene where she throws out her phone, so clearly at that point, like I said last week, you know she is involved at some level, and whether she did it or she's an accomplice, but she's absolutely involved. So we'll pick up with that later in the story, but at this moment, Ozzy is having a flashback of the first time that it was a situation where his mom didn't believe him. And it's definitely connects to her calling Jax. He doesn't know that she called Jax, but he knows that that was the first moment that he can remember where his mom really didn't have his back and didn't fight for him in a healthy way. Maybe she fought for him, sure, in a way of getting money or getting status and attention, but she never fought for him as a kid. And this was a very first moment that Ozzy remembers where he was left abandoned. And this was when back in 2015, where his dog had to be rushed to the hospital because he eaten chocolate, and chocolate is very, very deadly, can make a dog very sick. And in the room privately, the doctor was like, hey, this seems like someone fed him this deliberately because I think of the amount of chocolate or something. And so he was like, is everything good at home? Are you something going on? And the mom, although defended Ozzy, he knew that she had her doubts about it and didn't really fully believe him to the core. She was hesitant. And that moment has stuck with Ozzy because, again, like throughout this entire process, his family has not supported him at all. They've just used him and pimped him out for his gifts and talents. So, um, Jack still, does give Bill some, like, okay, let's keep talking about it and let's let him practice being on the stand. When they're practicing, Ozzy is not doing that well and, freaks out and panics. And Jax, again, is trying to calm him down and reassure him that he's going to do well, also of his innocence, because Ozzy is having these flashback moments where he's remembering Wendy tied up somewhere and he's there, and but because it feels out of body, but he doesn't know, so he actually genuinely is like, I don't know, I have reasonable doubt that I am innocent. And he's scared because he's like, I don't know if I can go up there because I really don't know. I really have no idea. And something clearly my subconscious is trying to tell me. I don't know if I can go up there because this might be bad, which was what Bill's concern was. But deep down in Jackson's gut, she said, listen, You need to focus on just showing them your story and who you are, and everything else stacked against you is circumstantial. At the end of the day, show them who you are and just don't let them tell you and paint this negative narrative about yourself. Cuz I think at that point Jax was kind of like, regardless, we want you innocent because you are a victim. Like he was a victim. So really what he needed is help. He did, at the end of the day, hopefully he wasn't, I mean, she knew he wasn't a murderer and I knew he wasn't a murderer, but he needed help. And that's what her, I think, focus was, and why she really needed him to not be in prison, because he wouldn't make it. He just wouldn't. So while this is going on, um while they're going through this and going back and forth and trying to prep him, Ozzy, we get another flashback of Ozzy. I really think the purpose of these flashbacks were just to give more context to where, giving more on Ozzy and where he was as a character and how he got here, and honestly how broken he really was. You know, yeah, and I'll stop there because I don't want to over talk or go ahead of myself here. But we do think in a moment where Monica, with back in 2020, that same year, where Monica came onto him again and he was a child. And, because he's a child and because she was abusive towards him, there was a moment where you saw how hurt and confused um that abuse could be. And I'm kind of like, I'm circling around it because it's very heavy. It's a very heavy topic. It's a very heavy thing that Ozzy went through. And so essentially they just did this flashback, like I said, to really just show you, um also to create some reasonable doubt, because they're showing you his background. And this green apple is so good. Um to show you that, okay, these are the markers of somebody, excuse me, these are the markers of somebody who could potentially have um hurt, kill someone because of all of this trauma and all the things happened to them that they could have snapped, but also someone who is extremely broken and who's also a victim, and the realities of how it can be with child stars and what they go through and how unprotected they can be in that environment. And that's pretty much what this scene was showing, how, he was battling not having support from his mom, being SA, and then also angry because you don't know how to navigate that. Your body doesn't know how to navigate that, right? And just then going and taking it out on somebody else innocent. So it kind of shows you that, okay, he could have the marker of being guilty, but and these are things that could lead up to that happening, but we really don't know. So I really liked how they did that, because I think a lot of times when we talk about Black characters, they are never given the grace or the true explanation as to why they're automatically villainized. And I think showing Ozzy more in an anti-hero lens, it's something that I think is refreshing and different, and does, in a way, make you feel for Ozzy, whether knowing he was innocent or not. It makes you feel for him because, you now know, okay, how he got here and how much he's went through, and it wasn't fair to him. And I think you don't get to see that level of humanity with Black characters. So I think that really helped with the storytelling of Ozzy as a character. So, excuse me, girl. Woo, I just ate, y'all. Um, we go move over to Lewis's office, and as we talked about, he's had a new employee who was pretty much scammed his way in the office, scammed his way in the job, and also then tried to it backfired on Lewis, to where Lewis got in trouble and reprimanded, because this guy was scamming. And will I say he was scamming? Well, I guess for television, but I'm telling you, in real life, oh, he wouldn't have got that far. Nowhere. That's what probation is for. And you would have also had a boss that would have your back, but we've already talked about that. But anyway, Lewis is yet again duped by Sam, who has failed to meet another deadline. And he's like, "All right, I've been tracking you. You're fired," which Lewis should have done tracking him from the beginning because, yeah, no, that's come on now. You- This is work. And Sam emotionally manipulates Lewis and pretty much says, "Oh, please don't. My girlfriend's pregnant. And she's had miscarriages, and we're just really trying to make it work. And this would hurt me, and I need to make money." And really just a bunch of malarkey. When I first heard it, and I'm gonna just be real, it's kind of like, okay, I know you're lying, but even if you weren't lying, do i- you don't think that you needed to then be proficient in your job if you had all of that at risk? Like, and you're not doing that. You pull it out right when you need to keep your job. So it was kind of like, Lewis, are you really that gullible? I didn't understand that because it was just kind of like, okay, but why do you know about the girlfriend earlier? And if he's had this girlfriend, why has he then been doing a horrible job at his job if he knew what was at stake and he really truly needed the money? No, a person who got something to lose, you gonna work a little harder than that. So it was kind of like, Lewis, come on now. Come on. And then honestly, I hate to say it, but one thing don't have to do another. At the end of the day, if we need our job done and we need work, we need it to get done, then you got to do your job. Period. And you don't say you can gonna work somewhere and you don't fulfill your duties and responsibilities, anywhere is gonna fire you. So I don't know why Lewis fell for that, but I think it does fall in line with the battles that Lewis has had from earlier seasons where he feels like he has to be the rescuer superhero, but it ends up backfiring because you ignore the signs that tell you that you ignore the bad signs and you end up letting broken people take advantage of you to a certain extent. And that's where Lewis is. Like, he wants to be a superhero, he wants to save people. And this is where you're learning, Lewis is still learning that lesson, but this time not with Jax. He's learning it outside, and where he learns that, like, okay, people aren't innocent. Like, people lie, people steal, people cheat, people finesse, and I cannot swoop in and think I can save every broken soul. So he's learning that lesson. Um, Lewis comes home. Jax is working on our case, venting about Bill because Bill does not want Ozzy on the stand. And Lewis does become more supportive, which again, I think, and he just reassures Jackson how she's feeling, which I think is so important as a woman who's like, especially a black woman, when you're constantly questioned for making decisions, especially in white spaces or even by men, to have someone just believe you. I think that I love how the show is just showing intentional moments. Maybe they're not perfect, right? But intentional moments where someone is trying to learn and grow, to believe a black woman, believe and validate her experiences, even just talking about, work or her decision making. Lewis was there to support her and be like, "Listen, you've done this, you're not new to this, and if you think he can handle it, then he can handle it." So that's kind of the confirmation that she needs to move forward, and with having Ozzy on the stand. And following day, Ozzy does have a therapy session with Autumn again, and we find out that he has been diagnosed with conduct disorder. Now, I did look up what conduct disorder was in more details so that it can, yeah, give a little bit better of a definition. And it's pretty much like a diagnosis where there's a persistent pattern of behavior that is more violent, and where they just show signs of aggression, destruction of property, they lie, uh pretty much when someone lashes out, it's like a cry for help. So you may often see that in these bad kids, honestly. Uh where you they may have behavioral problems because of what's going on at home, that the only way that they know how to respond to the trauma or things going on is through violence. So that is what he was diagnosed with. He was on medicine for it. His parents never told him about his diagnosis. They just was giving him pills to pop, which is not good because we see that it led to addictions. But and I think he would have better been able to understand who he was and handle himself more accordingly had he known his diagnosis, but they chose to hide it. So he has been, living a life not necessarily knowing of this diagnosis. And that is why his mom believed, or she felt like his mom believed, that he hurt their to his dog, and she didn't believe him even though she said it, but he knew by her actions she did not really believe him. So, but he is struggling because he feels like his inability to remember what happened to Winnie that night, that he could have potentially did it. If you're saying I have this diagnosis, maybe I did, and this is really just also a sign of Ozzy giving up on himself, slowly but surely, just losing all confidence in who he is as a person, what he's capable of at the core. Because yeah, the people close to him have never, like I said, believed in him, and then now you're having flashbacks of moments that you don't even remember that you could have potentially hurt a person. So Ozzy is struggling internally for sure. Like, is no doubt about it. So Autumn takes a stand. She shares the diagnosis, and she also talks about Ozzy's arrested development, which is a it is when a person reacts or responds in a way of an adolescent and they've never emotionally matured way. So they pretty much just have temper tantrums and they respond like a child when life or issues or people come at them. They don't know how to handle conflicts in a more mature, stable way. They lash out like they're 7 years old. I'm sure y'all know a couple of people, child, that still have arrested development. Um, experience that disorder and his disorder, but even with these diagnoses, this could easily been spent with the prosecution because they could say, well, guess he could be aggressive. But Autumn does her best that she can do in saying that, like, victimizing him as a person and not that he is the aggressor, because there's no evidence that suggests it other than just saying he has mental health issues. And one of the things that I forgot to mention was with back with Jazz's strategy, one of the other strategies that she wanted to do was show how unfortunately incompetent Ozzy was, which she knew that she could not do ahead of time, because if she did it ahead of time, that would probably make Ozzy spiral even the more, lose even more confidence, and give him more time to mentally ponder on it. But at the same time, if he's blindsided, that also probably would impact him a lot more on a personal level. But she knew that if I need to win, I do need to show that he is incapable. So I do need to have Autumn on the stage to share his diagnosis, but then I'm going to also establish that he is just simply not capable of committing this crime. He does not have the um intentionality or independence and capability to carry this out, even with the diagnosis of aggression. And the way that they were not able to find a killer, find any evidence, the body was found a couple of days later. We still don't know who did it. Like there's no other investigation going. They don't know who did it. That is suggesting that the killer was highly intelligent and able to um be crafty, and she knows that Ozzy, because he was a child star and he had things handed out to him, and he was put on a pedestal, and he was liked, and he was they handle every parts of his life. There's no way that he would know or be so resourceful to hide a body. He wouldn't have those resources. So either somebody helped him or somebody else did it who does have those resources. And there's plenty of people around him who know how to become resourceful because they're on his team and they have been resourceful towards him. Yeah, catch it. So, because she remembers that when it came to their Wi when they asked him about his Wi-Fi password or Netflix password, sorry, streaming, Ozzy had no idea. He was like, I don't know, I don't handle that. So that right there said, oh my God, that's what I need to lean into. So people know like he's incapable of doing that. But that also really that is crushing to like that to someone who's already emotionally fragile, that can be crushing because what you're saying is you are incapable of living your life or knowing who you are because you've had to um you haven't been given the opportunity to find that, like you've been told what to do your whole life, that you don't have basic street smarts, and that can just plummet someone's uh self-esteem. So she didn't want to do it, but she had to build the case in order to get the eyes off of him. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I needed to charge my phone. So, or my laptop. So, yeah, like Autumn says, Ozzy intellectually understands consequences, so he's not a sociopath. He understands them, but emotionally unable to process them. So he will then lash out, scream, cry like a toddler, and thus arrested development. But however, showing that because he is not emotionally mature doesn't mean that he is capable of physical violence. That's not always a direct correlation. Um, because she does see that he is capable of feeling, just not in a childlike way, and those are very different. I have a minor psychology, so I eat this stuff up, okay? So Mike does try to redirect the testimony, but he fails to bring it home. Because Autumn was standing firm, like, no, okay, yes, you're saying he gets mad, yes, you're saying he gets angry, but again, as a professional, I was never concerned for my life or never concerned about the things that he said that would make me suggest that he was violent. So he was unable to make that case, which I mean is pretty easy to do, and is that like, well, you could be violent because you got a history. But Autumn, I think that's why it's also important to have black doctors, not saying you hide or killer, but someone who's actually going to advocate for you, right, properly. And a lot of times you don't get that unless you have money to properly defend yourself. So, um, then this is where Jax feels like Autumn's testimony does help Ozzy in a way that could have really went to the prosecution. Um, and this again makes her carry out the plan of pretty much saying that Ozzy's too dumb to have killed Wendy. And again, that would plummet his self-esteem, but that is her winning strategy at this point. So, um, but yeah, all of his life, someone has been taking care of Ozzy. And that's what she's got to put and prove and do on the stand and show the people like with through Ozzy that that's has been his life, and that argument would make it pretty much black and white at that point, very clear. So that is what she decides to do and pivot in her strategy when she puts him on the stand. Bill is still not on board with the new angle. I really at that point, I feel like I don't really understand. I didn't understand why Bill was so upset because it's like, actually, that's pretty smart. Like, okay, if I can show you that this man maybe don't even tie his own shoes or do his own laundry, like I think you people, the jury will see that, okay, this man has people to do stuff for him, which, yes, fair enough. Then that means that, okay, so did he have someone else working for him, do the dirty work for him? Sure. But that still does put doubt in the prosecution, which is what she's trying to do. So you can't say that he was the killer if there is doubt. And if y'all didn't look and do your due diligence in your investigation, you have to. And therefore, Ozzy has to be free because y'all didn't go and look and see, okay, did the person who actually did it, were they working with Ozzy? Did they go and do it like with him, help him out, clean him? Like they didn't do any type of real research on who else could have killed Wendy. So, hello, like that's all she was trying to do. Prove reasonable, get him in your hand. Doubt. hmm Exactly. So Bill was just really wrecking my nerves. He was wrecking my nerves. And really, his issue was um he needs this win for, of course, his own career in order for him to become partner. And this is where Jax puts two and two together that, like, okay, this is why you all chummy and you cool and you everything kikiing it up with Stephanie Vince because they done promised you something and they're in your ear, as the white men do. And so she pretty much says, Bill, listen, I get it, and I'm not saying that you're not good, which is why I wouldn't have you be my second. But you got to make a decision. Either you're going to pick me and you're going to trust me because up to this point, because of her and because of her doing her job and leading, they have come this far to where Ozzy is strongly about to be set free, like is gonna win. You either have to pick her or you're gonna go with Stefan and Bill. Your choice. And she also reveals that, like, I also know you messing with my friend and that you getting a divorce. I also do know that. So yeah, we can also go talk about that too. Cause what you doing messing with my friend? hmm And that's messy as well. But because y'all claim to say that Jackson's messy, but you messy too. Cause yeah, exactly. So in the end, Bill says, "No, I trust you, Jax." And so she's like, "Then prove it." Which absolutely, I think Jax is using that Bill and white aim and black women. He has a thing. So I think she's using that for sure. Because he was kind of, should I be loyal to Jax? Oh, then something happens to my wife. I will. Like, I want something positive happens with my wife. Now I'm cool with Jax. Oh, something goes wrong. Now I don't care about Jax. So he kind of, what's going on at work, he does kind of take it home and bring it in with him, is bias. So, good work with Jax. And honestly, she ain't got time to play. She don't got time to play with this. So uh after work, Chelsea, who we find out who we know is what is the Lori Harvey? Thank you. Lori Harvey finds Lewis outside of her office. Now, like I said, kudos to Lori Harvey. I was very, very shocked. She's been doing a really good job. Like she has grown. She's in her acting bag now. Shout out to her. Shout out to her truly. But it's very interesting that she decides to meet with Lewis first and finds Lewis and corners him. So Eddie clearly, like I said, there's something off with Eddie. He is very manipulative, but he clearly knows that if I go to or if I go to Lewis, Lewis is gonna be the one to move Jax. You've identified the influence in their relationship so that I know that you're not up to any good. We know you're not. But she comes here, she says, listen, I really want to get to know Jax, but let me tell you about Eddie. He's trying to scam you, and I don't want to lay Jax down because I found out about her, and he's no good news, which we already know, and that's kind of a lie. But honestly, you don't really know who's lying, and we kind of don't really find out, to be quite honest. In the meantime, Daniel gets home from work and finds a letter where Kristen, again, like I said earlier, decides that like the relationship is over, and what's going on in her family can't be done. She asks him to forgive her and ends it with a love confession. So I mean, you could call it, I guess, a potential suicide letter. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but it was a little concerning, and honestly, I would say shout out to Daniel for taking it seriously. Um, because some people would have just been like, "Oh, dang, okay," and move on. But he actually kind of takes it seriously. But he's a PI, so he loves a good case. He loves a good solve, and that's exactly what he does. So he immediately tries to go and find her, and like I said, we saw the scene where Kristen throws her phone. So we knew immediately, oh, baby, you're guilty. Guilty, 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 guilty. She got something to do with it, or she did it. Like I said last week, but I not clock it. So at this point, we know she's involved in some capacity. The next day, we finally get Ozzy on the stand, and his mom and sister are not present. Another indicator. So we're like, okay, because your mom calls and throws Ozzy under the bus. And the only reason you will maybe want to do that is because you want to protect your another child. You end up not coming when he needs your support the most. You clearly know that there's something else going on. Now, I personally, like I said last week, don't believe that the mother was had anything to do with murdering Wendy, because I feel like that would be way too obvious. Way too, and she already admitted to Alex. So I'm like, okay, but maybe now she knows what's going on and she's helping the sister because that's the only reason. That's what it said to me. So um this makes him think back to that moment in 2015 where his mom kept giving him Adderall pills to keep him sharp, and Ozzy was over it. He didn't want to do this anymore, but his mom was had more compassion then, and but still was like, no, you're a meal ticket, so no. And that's how that conversation went. But he could feel that his mom really didn't believe him with the came to the dog. And, she said, yeah, I believe you. But her body language said otherwise. So again, tying the moment where he needed his family the most and support the most, it wasn't there for him. Because here you are on the stand doing something very emotional, fighting for your life, for freedom, and you're not here. Hmm. Yeah, it's very sad. It is very sad for Ozzy, honestly. So Jax does an excellent job proving that honestly is incapable of doing basic tasks. Therefore, how is he gonna kill unalive someone and then know how to clean it up and know how to plan everything? He doesn't know where half or how most things don't work. And she gives also a chance for Ozzy to explain what happens with the gun. Of course, Ozzy never got the gun himself. He doesn't even know where the store was. He didn't even buy the gun. And he admits that he was high that night of Wendy's, but he was so strung out that he couldn't go and look after her. He couldn't go and be concerned about her because he had relapsed and he was out, which we find out a little bit more on that later. So, and he felt guilty. He felt guilty because he was clean and he betrayed her trust, and he allowed their argument and situation, which we also found out was because there was a sex tape. He allowed that to, make him relapse, and he knew that she would be angry and not be happy about it. Um, so Mike does try to get Ozzy to mess up, and surprisingly, Ozzy, I think this is where that charm and, him being able to put on as an actor really kind of helped him understand because um Mike brought it back to, okay, but Alex says you went to the cabin, so what was that? Like, how did Alex get you to the cabin? And so he pretty much was like, I don't, or was Alex lying? And Ozzy says, yes, because one, I was stood really high, but two, I don't know where the cabin is. So by the time it ends, Mike is like, oh, okay. Yep, I see why that other prosecutor definitely left me by myself. Left this case because, ooh, what you mean you don't know where your family cabin is? Okay, so Ozzy, did better than they expected, and so it ended up going better in his favor. So we move on to after the hearing where Bill does meet with Stefan and Vince to grab a drink. Stefan and Vince are very unhappy that Bill has not been updating them and on Jax as he was supposed to. But Bill, I guess, is showing that he is Team Jax and turns the table. You go, boy. Reveals that, like, hey, listen, this is not going to work because at the end of the day, we are about to win this case. So y'all need to show some respect to Jax because she is actually doing her job. He didn't say those words yet, but he does later. But pretty much like, I want to win this case. I'm going through a divorce. So we got to make this work for the both of us because I'm not like, she has to win at this point. That's where we're at. So how can we work together to make sure this happens? And how can I make sure that I get partner? So later that evening, Stephen and Vince have the nerve to come to Jax and be like, hey, Jax, can you let Bill do the closing statement? I lost your mind. I was actually very baffled because I was like, huh? And you thought this was gonna go well? You couldn't have. You really could not have because what do you mean? This is her case. She allowed Bill to come on as second chair so that he could learn and get more experience before coming partner. Why would she give her case, especially the closing statement, which seals the deal, where you make sure everything that you have presented is off the top of the mind for the jurors? It's a huge role that he would do it like it's his case when it never gave that it was his case. Y'all have lost your mind. Truly. I was like, oh yeah, this is not gonna end well at all. And yeah, shout out to Jax because she really ate this up because it was like, why? It's insulting. It's insulting because she is partner. Her name is on the goddamn building. And you're telling her someone who is not partner should have closing statement on all the work she did on this case? They have lost it. So it was such a blatant, disrespectful thing to do. And the mere fact that Bill suggested it also tells you that Bill don't all the way get it either, even though he likes the black women. He don't all the way get it because how dare you? like, like swoop in and take the credit. So like, how dare you? So she tells him off, and she tells him to put some respect on her name, essentially, as they should. And, um, she also gives a warning to Bill and was like, y'all play like pretty much y'all play with me. Get out my face. I know what y'all game y'all are here trying to play, and I'm not the one. I make the money, I do the work, I keep the light bills on. Like I pay the light bill. Y'all need to respect me. period, and shuts it down immediately. Done. So everything that she has been feeling, everything that has been going on has been valid, has been real, and it was just another subplot to show you with this season how Black women are treated in these predominantly white spaces. Which I thought was a very interesting perspective to share as well. So um yeah, it lost their mind. So clearly, you kind of can tell that she's probably thinking about going and starting her own firm. Because at this point, girl, it's time to go. And like you can't come back from that. If they are so blatant to pretty much say, "Hey, this is your job," but we want him to take credit and just be so blatant about it, you have no longevity there, and it's time for you to go because that means that one way or another, they're gonna try to get you out. So I was like, okay, you have to know. You're gonna have to find somewhere else to go. It's not gonna work. So the next day, both Jax and Mike give a closing statement, and Jax focuses on the weakness of the prosecution and also Ozzy's childhood trauma. She brings up questions that the prosecution and police could never answer. Like what really killed Wendy? Um, who was really at the cabin? What really happened at the cabin? Was there any witnesses? No. So there's multiple people who have access to the cabin. She just poked the holes because there was a lot of holes to the prosecution, and quite frankly, it just goes to show you that they jumped the gun because they were trying to look good so that he could run for reelect or election. The original lawyer on the prosecution, they just really didn't overall do a great job. Um, but that leaves the jury to go and deliberate. Elsewhere, Rosie is cleans Ozzy's old childhood room, and there she's like reflective of Ozzy as a child. She finds a box where Ozzy does write a letter about to his dog when he dies, so it shows you that he did care about his dog. He was the sweet boy that Jax got to know and felt connected to and wanted to protect. Rosie was reminded of that, and she takes a step back and realizes that she hasn't, really just, I think, takes atonement, and she hasn't been the best at supporting Ozzy um throughout his entire life. So she calls him, she apologizes him, and tells him that she's sorry that she ever doubts him, to try to move forward with their relationship because yeah, it's pretty much done. Pretty much done. So on the other side of town, back at the cabin, Daniel finds Kristen holding a gun at the with the phone at the cabin. So at this point, you're like, what is going on? Huh? Clearly, at this point, I was convinced, oh, it's definitely you. Because you're trying to run, like, yeah, unalive yourself because you're guilty of something. So she starts crying about how Ozzy was always a favorite. So then you start to hear that she was very jealous of Ozzy and how he was seen and the attention that he was getting. And though she loves her brother, she was often ignored and not seen. So it comes out that she ended up being the one to hurt and poison the dog because Ozzy loved it more than her. And it was a cry for attention, honestly. So when you got that moment, you were like, oh, so that means you are capable of hurting another human being because a lot of psychopaths, the very first things that they hurt or, kill are animals. Then they escalate to people. So it was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. Hmm. So you're guilty, 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 guilty. And also shows you how that she feels so much guilt that she was to this point of unaliving herself. And Daniel is there trying to be a support, trying to remind her that, like, hey, um what did you do? Like, you need to tell me what happened. what's going on? Were you the one that killed Wendy? But before they could do that, they get a phone call and the verdict is out around Ozzy. So, but before that, we do get a scene cutting to Bill where he's talking on the phone with his divorce lawyer and he's frustrated because his ex is asking for more money. But he's interrupted because Jack said also that the jury is out. And so they are deliberating on if Ozzy is innocent or guilty. And so that was episode 9. This episode is leading to a massive conclusion on this case and the story of Ozzy. Y'all, woo, it's a lot. It's a lot. But overall, I think this episode does a really good job of giving you some more background on, like I said, who Ozzy is, but just also, really tying the bow on who people really are and how they get to this point. This sister, because that was a full circle moment, finding out that, like, okay, you've been worried about Ozzy and what he's capable of, but you didn't even think about your other child who is always wanting attention and is in his shadow. You ain't think about what she could do and how she would be in this situation, and how it just shows you how messed up this family is because of fame. And so we get into that happens. Now we're here at the finale, episode 10. So it picks back up where Kristen is about to spill her guts to Daniel about what happened. And this is where we do a flashback. What I really like about this a lot better, because it does remind me of these Who Done It series, right? Where each episode they give you bitty pieces to unfold more details about that day. This show takes a different approach where we're not focused on the past. We are focused on the current, but we do take you back to give you the full story than just little pieces here and there, which to me I find slightly annoying. So I do like that once with the present is caught up and we are where we are, we then take a moment to take you back, show you what happened. So almost kind of like you're leaving the audience without a reasonable doubt. Like a who done it would each episode, you're not doing that. So, um they're showing it with you. They're taking you with it, taking you to what really happened up front, boom, and I love it. I like this structure much better. So we go back to 6 months before this mess, and we learn that Rosie told Ozzy, we learned what she told him, which was that, Wendy was sleeping with her with someone in that video, which we now know that they fabricated and dubbed. But she told Ozzy about the affair Wendy had. He goes and confronts Wendy. Wendy is like, "What are you talking about? I did not do that. They are lying to you, playing with you." But he saw the video, so it's very hard, obviously, for them to for him to believe that because there was a whole video. And then we show where she left after the argument with Ozzy. Monica drops by. He shuts Monica down. Uh because Monica's just always there lurking, just nasty. Ozzy sends her away and calls Alex. Alex comes over, they get high, and he kind of takes a lot because he hasn't for a while. He hasn't been on drugs for a long time. After getting high, he receives a location notification that Wendy was at the family cabin. So that is how he knew where to go. Not that, so he wasn't lying. He doesn't know where the family cabin was, but that's where her location was. So he says, "Oh, well, let's go and confront her." So that what Alex was talking about actually truly happened, just not in the way that Alex told it. Um, so Alex is offered to drive Ozzy to confront Wendy again. They arrive at the cabin. Alex stays by the car while Ozzy finds that Kristen is inside there, meets him outside. So this is where you're like, oh, we knew it. We freaking knew it. She did it all along. Because why are you here? So in the way that you killed his dog, did you do that to Wendy as well? Or and get upset because he was leaving with Wendy and you didn't want your brother to leave? Was that your motivation? What was going on? That's what you think because we just tied that bow with the dog. So he goes inside, he finds Wendy chaired up. He's still very much high, out of his mind. He starts to eyes untie Wendy, but Kristen begs him for a chance because she says that Wendy stumbled and hit her head, so she panicked and took her here to the cabin. Makes no sense. When you hear it, it made no sense actually. Um, but of course, um, then we go to as they're talking. Ozzy passes out. She tries to tend to Ozzy. He's already untied Wendy. So Wendy goes and runs, and that's where Kristen shoots. And okay, then it stops because Daniel then says, "Hey, they've done a verdict. We should go back." So I guess Kristen then decides she doesn't want to unalive herself because she has confessed that to Daniel. So here's the thing with that though. So okay, let's go between the difference between what Alex said. So what Alex said was um he Ozzy went inside, he heard a noise. When he came back out, Ozzy was in the car. He saw blood. He didn't ask any questions. So he kept it very vague. Kristen then says that um gives more that because how he got the stain was he touched Wendy's face and was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" and freaks out. So it's interesting that Alex decides not to tell what he really saw. Because according to Kristen's confession, or what we saw in the flashback, he saw it. Alex saw who was killed. And he still chose not to say who it was. So it's very interesting because if you got on the stand in order to paint Ozzy guilty, why didn't you say you saw Ozzy shoot? You never said those words. You kept that part out. So I was like, that's very interesting. Excuse me. Because if I'm extorting the family, right, and I'm getting money, why would I, and then I was there, why would I not just say who did it? Why not say it was Kristen or say it was Ozzy? But instead you say, I don't know. I just heard a noise and I came in the car. You would be a witness, sir. Hello. So yeah, that took me by a pause because it was like, okay, clearly there's more to this story because the two accounts not quite making sense here. They're not. So anyway, we move to the verdict and the court case where they are waiting to hear what the jury says. And comes out is what we find is the jury finds Ozzy innocent. She did it. She won the case. So the team is celebrating. Everything's going well. He is a free man. They proved without a reasonable doubt that he was innocent. Yes, he was innocent. So at the firm celebration party, Kristen apologizes to Ozzy for missing her last hearing. Jazz invites Ozzy over for dinner, but unfortunately, Ozzy does end up turning it down. Says that his friends and he like has something planned for him, so that's what he will be doing. And his mom summons him to talk to some other people about his future because again, she's pretty much like Chris Jenner. Like she doesn't stop. She doesn't stop. She's right back to where we were and using him as a token. And as doesn't see him as a person. Like, this guy just got off from murder. You don't think that he maybe should take a mental health break? And here you go, ready to profit off this moment to keep his career going. I mean, it's so sad. There's no winning. So it just really shows you, is there really redemption even with his family? Meanwhile, Daniel goes and talks to Jackson call aside and tells her about Kristen's confession. And according to Daniel, Kristen told him that Wendy had stopped by the house to confront her parents. Rosie and Sal were away at the time. There was an altercation between Wendy and Kristen, and then she hit her head on the table and passed out. Later, Kristen says, like I said earlier, that she drove Wendy to the cabin to keep it a secret because Wendy was threatening her family, to keep the family secrets. So that was her Kristen's reason in order to protect her family. And Wendy tried to run when Ozzy showed up and Kristen shot Wendy as she was running towards the woods. After that, it was uh Kristen who paid Alex to keep quiet and take Ozzy back home. So that's why Alex showed up like, "Hey, where's my money? You owe me money," because he was told to be like, "Hey, don't say that you just saw me shoot someone. I you need to give me some money." So Daniel just agreed to give Ozzy the weekend off for telling him how Wendy died. But that, Daniel uses this moment to say, "I need to call my sister and just tell her, uh, thank you for not hating me and, killing my girlfriend." And this also does like kind of lay heavy on Jax because then that's kind of what prompts her to decide to meet with her half sister, Chelsea, as well. So we had that happen. So now back to Lewis because we have left him after we've gotten the verdict. We want to know what happens between him and Sam, which was the his subordinate that he had hired who scammed. And yeah, most annoying character of the season. Once Lewis realizes that Sam lied again about having a child because one of the other coworkers, they were having a meeting and he goes, "Hey, this was I think they brought to his attention that something was not right." And so Lewis goes, "Hey, we'll just cut him some slack. We're trying to work with him. He has a family coming up, so we just, tries to show compassion to work with him." And they say, "What are you talking about? He just asked somebody out last week. He ain't got no baby mama." Like, this he's lying to you. And as far as I know, he's not in a relationship. So that lets Lewis know, "Oh, okay, yeah, I was played again," which is crazy to me because I don't know why that was news at all. Uh God, all of the goodness of my heart. Like, it's Lewis. It really is. Cause it's like, come on, dude, really? But whatever. So at this point, he confronts him and says, "Sam, I really tried as another black person in this space, try to help and support you, which is not a problem. You need more of this. Like, but you abused it. And now you let a bad taste in Lewis's mouth," which I think, Lewis, to be fair, has to use more wisdom. But you've taken advantage of this. You've taken this opportunity away from someone who's actually can be qualified here and would do good work. You wasted company time, you wasted everyone's time, and for what? Just to get back at the system. So he said he tried. So Sam, Sam tries to do the, "Hey, I'm trying to come against the system, and it's never that good, So we need to get the best out of it and make it work and abuse it." And Lewis is just like, "Well, what about me? What about the other black folks who are here? Did you think about that? Did you think about what we're trying to do here and how you're hurting us because you want to stick it to the man? Huh? That don't make sense. You're wasting our time." So Sam also then tries to say, he tries to then say, "You don't have enough to fire me." Um, because he sends him another threat, and Lewis says, "Please, trust me. I've been tracking you since the very beginning on how you don't complete your tasks and duties and responsibilities. So you cannot fire me because I can show you a paper trail and show you of all the mistakes that you have done. Because I think he shows him a code of where he tells him, "Hey, what does this look like? Does this look good?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "No, it's not. It's mistakes. And if you were qualified and you knew how to do your job, you would have caught that." So he shows him that there's too much like you can go to court, you can try to fight me, you could try to go to HR, but I have evidence that you don't know how to do your job and you're incompetent. So you go to court how you want to, but I'm going to show them where here are your responsibilities and duties and here's what you didn't do or what you did incorrectly. So, and again, do they not have probation? I know it's television, but I'm like, any job has probation. They don't need a reason on probation, Buki. So nice try, Sam. But that's Lewis making him think he had a choice because yeah, that wouldn't happen. But anyway, so after they win, Stefan and Vince congratulate Bill and confront him that they finally decided to make him partner and they will bring him along. And they also want Jax to return too because oh yeah, she just made us a bunch of money. She actually won. So maybe we do want her on the new acquisition. And you know, we're all gonna make money, we're all gonna be big. We're great, amazing. Yeah, okay. So Bill tries to stand up for Jackson, says, "Y'all need to show her more respect. She put in her work and she did what she was supposed to do with this business." And just like that, as white men do, Vince and Stefan go, "Oh, so you're saying that she did all the work? Well, why would we hire you? And why would we put you as a partner then if you're saying all praise goes to her?" That shut Bill up so quick. That shut him up so quick. I was like, yeah, when I say this, and this is such an accurate depiction on how they have each other back and they know how to come together to get their own agendas working. And they could go back to hating each other or go back their separate ways once they get what they want. This was such a clear example of that because it was like, Bill, what? And then also, because y'all don't want to give her too much, not too much, even though she's bringing y'all money, we don't want to give her too much. So hold on, Bill. Wait, she's not that valuable. We don't want to own because if we have to own that, then we're gonna have to stop this good old boy system, and we don't want to do that. So anyway, Corey does come back, which is by Morris Chestnut, and he brings Brandy, which is Essence. I forgot her last name. Essence Atkins. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Who is his fiance? They drop in town and they have dinner with Jackson Lewis, a double date. Of course, Lewis is hesitant because he knows that Corey wanted his little wife, but they find out that he is engaged. And they that think that eases Lewis because he's like, okay, you're not trying to take my girl, fine, because you married, cool, great. But Jack, he's still side eyeing. So while they're talking, Corey pulled and Jack's having a separate conversation, and this is where Corey does and finally admit, like, you have had this information for months. And you now decide to tell her that you knew that Stefan Events was trying to be shady behind their back and buy out Jax, and you didn't think that she needed to know. You low key just as trifling, and this is the misogyny of it all. Okay, because we talked about you being white men, but now here's the men part because it's like, why didn't you tell her 6 months ago? Because now it's making sense why they were treating her this way and what was going on, which my discernment would already told me, hey, I need to start packing my box. Like we need something else going on. And something ain't right. But now you tell her when she should have known this information 6 months ago. So pretty much Corey says that they wanted to buy, they were willing to trade Jax for Corey. And pretty much they don't see her as valuable to her company because again, she doesn't move with the boys. She doesn't appease the boys. She plays by her own rules and she's a woman and a black woman, and that is more threatening. It is. It's more threatening. So, she's not surprised, but she's offended because she's been seeing it roll up to this point. But it's still like, bro, why didn't you tell her this earlier? Because that then would have said, oh, okay, they find me expendable. So I maybe don't need to make them a lot of money anymore. And maybe I need to go and then make my own money. So ahead of the partners meeting, Jax finds Stefan and Vince and Bill popping a champagne to celebrate that Bill is now coming on as a new partner. She's surprised, given that there wasn't any vote or anything because again, she is partner. Then that's where she finally hears about the acquisition, where and that merger is happening. And Bill tries to again appease in a very white male way. Hey, I tried to have your back, they was trying to get you out, but I was protecting you, and I was like, no, but you was still moving like a goddamn snake. You a snake, you a snake, you all a snake. Everybody's a snake here. Don't be playing in her face like that. Love to do it. They love to do that. No, 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 no. Y'all knew exactly what y'all was doing. You did. And this is a boy club. And at the end of the day, if you get to a moment where she makes a mistake or she does something wrong, she does something you don't agree with, you're still going to try to find a way to vote her out because you find her expendable and you don't value what she brings other than her check and the money that she made. But she do that when she do that for herself. So Jax decides to pack her things and dip. And I was like, I know that's right. Yes, ma'am. You can do it. Like, you are that girl. You've won 3 major cases. Yeah. Don't be giving these people your money. So she starts making her steps towards creating her own firm. Now, we do have the moment where Jax does decide that she wants to meet with Chelsea, who pretty much is just throwing Eddie completely under the bus. Mind you, this is after her and Eddie have made and built some strides forward. She comes in just wham, just rolls him under the bus. And it was just it was to me it was a little bit too forward because I was just like, are you believing this? Because how is it you conveniently just saying, oh, he's so awful. Oh, his addiction. Oh, he's lying. Like you're saying all the good the things that you knew would make Jax not want to have a relationship with him. Like you knew exactly what to say. So it's very suspicious. And I was at first like, Jax, I hope you're not believing this because clearly like she's coming out the blue because I think Jax asked her, like, well, why now? And she goes, I just couldn't sit around and let this happen to you and I wanted to meet my sister. Okay, but if you knew about me, now you're coming out of the blue after my father is trying to build a connection. So you clearly have ulterior motives as well. So and then she don't know her from a can of paint, so you can't take it as Bible. Like you can't take that because it's like her word for it because you don't know her. And if she is her daddy's child, okay, listen, it don't fall too far from the tree. And if she was raised by him, oh, definitely not. So, Jax takes the information and puts it in her back pocket to see how she should move forward. Now we finally get to what really happened to Wendy. And, okay. I was trying to see how do we talk about this next section because this is where things get very real and intense in this story. So, the night of Ozzy celebrating his release from not going to jail, he has a party, and get another guest feature from Cordell on the show, and he's celebrating, and his friends are like, "Oh, I bought some party favors, if you know what I mean." And Ozzy is hesitant because he has restarted being clean again, and is like, I really don't want to do that. And so, but his friends don't care because they often don't. They just are with these people as users, and I'm partying with the famous person. We genuinely care for them. But Bobby really does want to do better. He wants to try, and okay, here we go. Boom. Sorry about that. My phone, because someone called me, messed up the recording, but I hope you guys could hear me. But anyway, we do know that Jax has a positive influence on Ozzy, and we do know that um she was the only person that really believed in him and really wanted to see him do well genuinely. And Autumn brought this up to Jackson's attention earlier, and I think that's so important where we're going, is that, like, hey, if you break his trust, this could do something really negative to him, so you have to tread lightly because he is very unstable emotionally. um and so you just have to be mindful of how you navigate that, especially because you're doing a court case and you are his lawyer. So when I think he thinks about that. I think he does want to make Jax proud. I think he does see her as a someone who he can trust and he can look up to, and values her and feels supported, and I don't think he's ever gotten that before. So at that party he decides he doesn't want to do it, and he comes to Jax, who is a safe space for him, to their house. And he was just like, hey, I don't want to go there, I don't want to party there, and I don't want to make a bad decision. So he comes in, they have dinner, they have a great time. He's talking to the kids, he's seeing what a real family is like. And to be clear, Jax, her and Lewis don't have a perfect family, but they communicate and they work on it, and they're still there for each other at the end of the day, and they want to see each other succeed. So, um, even though they're imperfect, they're trying. And he says that to the kids, which, you know, he says that as a way for them to know, like, hey, you don't know how good you really truly have it, because he was raised in a space where his parents really didn't care for him. So it was just a really nice moment for him to see what Ozzy, I think, always wanted in a family, and he get that opportunity to really experience that now through Jax. And so we get that moment. So after that, Jackson Ozzy sit and have a conversation to the side. And this is where Jax reveals to him, like, listen, I want you to do good. I want you to do better. You now have a chance to do Second Life, and you need to make some better choices and try to help yourself as much as you can. Therefore, I've called someone to take you to rehab so that you can actually get the proper help that you need, not, self-medicate, California sober, but actually truly get you the help that you need so that you can come from this and you can make the decisions best for you and learn like and actually live your life. Um and I think she did I think she did what she needed to do because he needed that. He needed that so bad. He needed somebody there for him. But Ozzy at first, and it was such a beautiful moment, y'all. Oh my God. I mean, let me tell you something. The guy who played Ozzy, amazing job. And I hope that they get nominated for Emmy because I don't understand why up to this point so far Reasonable Doubt has not been nominated for anything, but he played this role a little too well. I'm a little scared, not gonna lie. But I mean, this scene was beautiful because it was one, Jackson always dealt with addiction, and now to see it from firsthand because she didn't really get that with her dad. Like her dad left, her dad wasn't there, so she experienced it from a distance, and she experienced the hurt of it. But it was kind of like she was talking to him from a person who was hurt by a family member, and now having to do what she probably wanted to do with her dad and say, "Hey, you need help. Hey, it's hard. It's so hard." And so she just pretty much told him like, "Listen, I love you and I want you to succeed." And that's a client, but she had a heart for him. And she was like, "You need to do this, excuse me, in order to make yourself better." And I also think it's growth for Jax because remember, Jax does like a little bit of toxic behavior. And so the mere fact that she said, "Hey, I need you to go get help to stop this bad behavior, to stop the chaos, to stop the," shows that like she's learning that that is not how you should live your life. And where it is just toxic and struggling after another, like you need healing and it's okay to get healing. And so for him to be like, "I'm so mad at you, but I love you too." Oh Lord Jesus. Like it was such a powerful moment. Such a powerful moment. So she says, "Okay, go. They're coming. Get yourself together. You're fine. They're gonna be here soon." A couple minutes later happens. They're at the house. She tries to go in the room. There she finds Ozzy on the floor. The party, he did not take the party favors, but because he was about to go to rehab, he does one last party favor, but too much, and it ends up killing him. And it was really sad because you really felt like, dang, you wanted Ozzy to actually get to experience life. But I think showing things like his mom acting like nothing happened, finding out your sister at this point something to do with your girlfriend being killed. There isn't a lot of like from a character perspective, or how do you keep? There's not a lot you can do with this character because so much has happened to this person. So I understand why the show made a decision for him to for this to happen to him because it's just one. If it's not one thing, it's another. And it was really sad because you were like, dang, you you want something better for him. You wanted him to get it right. You wanted to see him succeed. You wanted him to move past this. And the reality is some people really don't in these spaces. And I think it hit home. I think the reason probably why they chose to allow this ending to happen was to really show you one, the horrors of how Hollywood is and how child actors have it and have had it and how they are treated. But also, I think to show you a realistic story, what often happens in these situations. Look at artists and actors from the '80s. Half of them, same way. So it's a realistic ending, and it was just sad because you really wanted to see him live his life. So this is very traumatizing for Jax because this happened in her home, and she knew this, like, this whole time she knew it was a very fragile situation, and still the inevitable happened. And then yet again another traumatic moment because of the things that happened in last the season before. So Ozzy is gone, and now she's like, okay, we've had the funeral, we're trying to move forward. We do have a moment between his mom and her, and it just kind of shows you the startling difference between the two, where he was like, hey, I wanted him to come over and he chose to go to your house, so you can imagine how hurt I feel. And again, Jax kind of had to be like, it's not about that, it's about him getting what he needs, and you sit here trying to compete. So it was like, God almighty, you damn, like your child is not here, you still ain't getting a clue. And then after they had a conversation, she go and do an interview to be on TV. A film crew is here. Some people never learn. And it's crazy how some people can just. So I think that's also another point of reflection too, right? Is like Jax was her in the way of, I would constantly do the same behavior, and then when these big blow ups or big results would happen, now I'm looking crazy when I could have just do something different and change and grow and evolve. And she was a clear example of a mother, a person, a mom, a wife who chose not to change. And as a result, something that you can never take back happens. So I think it was also a reflective moment of the character growth that Jax has had as well in this show. After this is happening, Jackson's like, all right, it is time. Kristen, you need to own and come clean about Wendy's death. And as they're talking, I don't remember in full details, but as they're talking, we do then find out that Kristen is yet again hiding something else. I believe that I thought there was something that she said that made them go, wait a second, you sure that it was you? Because it feels like you're not really fully telling us the truth here. And then this is where Kristen finally goes fully into the story of what happened. And remember when we talked about the dad, who we don't see a lot of? We then discovered that Kristen had lied to protect her dad because he was the one, in fact, that actually killed Wendy. So we go back to another flashback where we get the now full story where he is now included. So we do it kind of whodunit style, but this time it includes him actually being there. So everything that we saw with Ozzy and Alex up to that point happens, but the dad was also there, but Ozzy does not remember because he was completely happens. Wendy does get a loose and runs, and the dad is the one who actually goes and runs behind her and does shoot at her, and it does injure Wendy because remember they couldn't prove if the I think it was a laceration, I think is what you call it, or the gunshot killed Wendy. Well, he shoots, she goes down. Alex is there. He sees that it's the dad. And this explains why Alex did not say who shot because it was the dad, it was not the sister. So he was more scared because it wasn't Ozzy. It was this, the dad. He tells the sister, clean it up, don't say anything. This is your fault because you were supposed to protect the family. Blames her. So these parents are absolutely narcissists at this point. Because why do you then blame her? No wonder the poor girl was doing a cry for help. He goes, tracks Wendy, she, on her still shot, is still standing by Ozzy and saying, I'm going to expose you guys for everything you've done. Because the reason how she got there was he confronts Wendy because, Wendy wanted to do the deal, wanted Ozzy to separate from them. And so he confronts her or asks her to come over, and they get in a heated discussion, and he slaps her and she hits her head on the desk table. So that is how we then get to the cabin. Okay. So that was the part that was very different and where it was kind of like, huh, that don't really make sense. That is why it was the way that it was because they were trying to stop Wendy from pretty much getting away their bag. Let's just be crystal clear. Because Wendy was going to not only be his wife, but now take full ownership of his career and they were no longer going to have a meal ticket. So after this happens, even on her dying bed, Wendy says she vows to tell the real secrets of this family and stop them from harming Ozzy. He doesn't like it, so he grabs her and she ends up dying. Um, meanwhile, Kristen pays off Alex. Ozzy was too high to remember, so she takes him back, puts him in his bed, and he this is where he it's all a blur for him because he was in and out of consciousness. So we find out that yes, the dad killed him, but the sister helped cover up the murder. We clocked it. And I'm gonna say we clocked it because we said it was the sister, we said it was the dad, because I told you with the dad, we was not getting a lot from him. Even when it came to the storyline, he was not really there, not really saying anything. So it usually be the person you least expect. And the mom was too forward, the mom was too vocal for it to be her. Now, do I think she knew something about it? I do to a certain point. No, the dad and mom were not in as much communication because when it came to the sex tape, that was not she did not console him on that. So I think he genuinely did not know. And when I said last on our last recap that I think he reacted that way because it pretty much now makes him a person of interest in a case that he got away with, because now you're saying that the dad could have potentially had motive because there's a tape that you slept with his fiance. So that now makes them look at him as a suspect. He was genuinely shocked and he was genuinely concerned that why would you go and do that to me? So that was also an indicator. But again, I can't remember what she said, but there was something that she had said on the phone with Jax that made me say, it's something else to this. And of course, I do think that for her to randomly call up Jax and say, I do think it could have potentially been Ozzy, could have been a way of her trying to protect Kristen because maybe she found out that something was going on between what really happened that night, but she was only concerned about Kristen and didn't want both of her children to go to jail or or something to happen to them. Yeah, I feel like she maybe was complicit, meaning that no, the dad and her don't talk like that, and I don't think that she explicitly knew it was him, but I do think she knew Kristen in some capacity was involved in it, and then tried to, want to protect her in some way. Um, so at the funeral, they set up a plan where Kristen has her recording because she's very sleuth like that and can lie and sets up her dad to tell what really happened that night in a mid omission, and then of course he gets arrested and he's sent to jail. So we find out that yes, he is the one that killed Wendy. Clocked it. And he killed her, like I said, because they want to control over Ozzy. They want to control over what he gave them, the life he gave them, the money he gave him. It was almost kind of like they were the probably more evil parents of um uh oh my god, what's his name? Um what's his name? Gary Coleman. They gave an evil version of Gary Coleman and probably Chris Jenner. It was their parents. A more extreme Chris and Gary Coleman parents. If you know, you know. So they arrest Sal, and as of course, Rosie's back to work to profit off of her son's death by working with the producer to tell Ozzy's story. Some people never change. In the meantime, Jax is still dealing with what happened. She wonders if the overdose would have happened had she not forced him to go to rehab. And of course, Lewis is there to be like, no, at the end of the day, you tried to help him. And he had an addiction, he had a problem. His intent was not to take his life. His intent, I mean, he didn't. At the end of the day, he made a decision. He made a decision. It's not on you. And you did what you were supposed to do, which she did. She did. She honestly can say that. She was the only one who really had his back. But it just unfortunately wasn't enough. So, some great news. Autumn does deliver a healthy baby. Bill and Sally continue to date, but Bill starts to regret what he did to Jax, obviously. But hey, doesn't matter because she's got her own firm. She's starting her own. She's left. And there was some one other part that I thought had happened. Oh, we do get a conclusion on sort of a conclusion what happens between her dad and Chelsea, where pretty much she has a conversation with her dad at a funeral home, and we didn't realize was an Easter egg at the point. But excuse me, she tells her dad at the funeral home, "Hey, I thought I would see you here when because of your addiction. But I'm gonna have to take a step back because I don't know who to believe. Your daughter lying, you lying. I don't know what y'all intentions are. But we gonna have to take a step back because it's too much. Y'all lying too much. And I think she needed to trust her gut and take a moment and take a pause. Because yeah, you don't know what their real intentions are. You really didn't. And so I'm glad she made that decision. That was probably the best decision for right now. Take things slow because somebody is lying. Somebody's lying. Before we know that that will be the same funeral home that Z has is killed in. So that was definitely an Easter egg. But then flash forwarding back, Crystal Daniel support Jax and they move into a new building. She's starting there. It's so exciting. We're ready for the next stage. And as they are putting up things on the wall, getting it ready to be open, here comes Monica. Comes in with a gun, wanting revenge, and we hear guns go off. But that is the end. A reasonable doubt. Season 3. So we don't know. And I'm like, dang, are we really giving all of this character growth to Lewis for him to pass away? Like that would suck. Or even Daniel at this point. Like, which Daniel has had his moment, but that would really suck. If like we did all of this for Lewis to try to now get it right, for her to then lose him. But I feel like that's where we're going. I really feel like this is where we're going. So, because remember, she didn't get arrested, which I'm still very confused why there was not charges filed against her. But even at the funeral, she was out in the crowd and she was mean mugging Jax because I guess she blames Jax for his death because he was jealous of his relationship with Jax because she wanted to be the one to control and it was Jax who railroaded her on that stand. So she wanted revenge for that because she blamed her. Hope we don't kill off Lewis. Like that would actually irritate me. Oh, that would irritate me. So we have to wait till next season to see what happened. But overall, this was a great season. By far, I think this was one of the best seasons because I really like last season as well. I feel like I love how they explore themes and they explore, you know, they tell the story of the client and how they got here. And different last year we talked about love bombing and abuse and what that looks like. This year we talked about it from a perspective of child in Hollywood. The first year, we talked about, corporate America and grooming. Like there's which, yeah, it's pretty heavy show, but I love how they are telling a story in an unconventional way for you to get the message and fully understand. It's more than just we're going through the court case. We're actually unpacking, all aspects of the case and story while also dealing with the personal issues of Jax and her family. So, I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. I can't wait, and I hope the show continues for as long as it can. Kerry Washington is phenomenal, phenomenal. I mean, you could tell it's her all over it, involved in it. So, yeah, let's talk about in the comments. How would you guys rate this season? I think I would rate this season a yeah. I gotta give it a 9 out of 10. I give it a 9 out of 10 for sure. Um, I mean, there was no low points. Every episode was amazing. Every episode, and every actor did what they had to do. So, 9 out of 10 for sure. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Chelsea and her dad. I am interested in that. And how this is going to evolve. What is the next case going to be? I would like to go in a little bit of a different direction now that she has her own firm. I think that was a great transition because now we get to see her growing pains with a new firm. But now we're hearing that somebody might get killed. Better not do it. Don't y'all kill off Lewis and Dan or Daniel or her. Don't y'all do it. Don't do it. Please. Dang. That'd be interesting to see what Bill would do. Would Bill come over? Like, because I did kind of feel like, okay, why is he now here? Or she's probably going to go against him in a court. This is also my prediction is that she will probably have to face him in court in the next case. You have to now go against the person you train. Hmm. That's my prediction. Or he does come over. I don't know, but I feel like she's going to have to battle him in court. But also, what is Sally gonna do? Because her husband is trifling. I think we talked about that. Like, dude, you're petty. Yeah, are you good? Like, I don't know. It's yeah, but anyway, I'm trying to think, is there anyone else? I would like to see her other friends some more, but I know they said let me give you rest because we put you through the ringer season 2. So I love that she's doing well. And yeah, I think the kids are gonna do fine too, but and Mama Lucy. But yeah, overall, I think this was a great season. Let's talk about it more in the comments. Also, head over to TikTok where we break down other TV shows and films. We'll be back with another recap. I guess I'll do it. I guess we will go back and cover the next season. I think season 3 of Secret Lives and Warm and Wives. Y'all know how I feel about the show, but I think we got to cover it. I think we do. I think we do. I think we do. I think we do. Let me know if y'all want to see it. Yeah. Let me know how y'all feeling about it, and we can definitely make that decision. But thank you guys for watching my, recap and listening my recap for season 3. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please, please make sure to like and subscribe and be a part of the Lions Den family. That is all, folks. We'll be back with another one, and until next time, have a good night.